Hello and welcome to the 80s Parenting, the podcast. Welcome. Grab those leg warmers and that Walkman and let's get started. Hello, Heather. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So good. How was your week, your past week?
It's good. Very busy, but good.
Yeah,
I'm manifesting a move, so I've got little things keeping me very busy.
oh, you're manifesting a move. I wonder where that could be due.
Oh, no.
Anywhere out of this Satan's armpit of
Pretty
Arizona.
much.
So, welcome to our second episode of the 80s Parenting Podcast.
Yes.
I am Malinda, and this here is Heather. And
Hello.
if you listen to our first episode, we've been friends for 41 years. We grew up in the 80s, and we're talking about all things 80s parenting and how they screwed us up for the future. So today, let's get into our actual parents and their parenting styles that we didn't know then, but we do know now. And that's why we're in therapy.
Yes. Indeed.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, and I'm sure if anyone is listening, if that one person is listening and you grew up in the 80s, y'all know that it was children were to be seen and not heard.
Indeed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
other things.
Among other things.
Sometimes parents were not seen or heard.
Hello, 911. Where's your parents? I don't know. They're over at the Smith's house. 2 doors down, maybe. They might be hitting up the Moose Lodge down the street. It's quarter beer night.
Nice.
Was there karaoke then? I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember. No, I think you just sang along to the radio in the shower and hope it didn't fall in to the shower window.
Yeah, because it was plugged in. There
It
was
was
no
called.
Wi-Fi. So it was, when we were parents, there was a lot of bowling.
Yes.
There was a lot of bowling.
My dad was in a bowling league.
Yeah, my dad had a bowling ball, with
Yeah.
his initials on it and
Uh-huh.
shoes. Yeah,
Our family.
I felt really bad, but when we moved, I recently got rid of the bowling ball that I have been carrying around since
For
19
49 years. Yeah, good thing you got rid of it.
no, well, 49 years. No, so my mom would have carried it around since 1979. And then when she died in 1993, so that long, 30 years,
Wow.
I was carrying it around 30 years minus 4. And so, yeah, I finally donated it to the Smithsonian. So it's there. There's a plaque. It says, Bill Dalton
Wow.
on it. So yeah, lots of bowling in the
Yeah.
80s. So let's talk about the parenting styles, HT.
All right.
So I want to know about your parents because they're awesome.
So I did a little research to prepare for said episode, and there are 4 well-known parenting styles. Thank you, Google. The first is an authoritarian parent who focuses mostly on obedience and punishment. Authoritative parents create positive relationships and enforce rules. So that's the parent that you want. Permissive parenting. They don't really enforce the rules. They're around, but they're kind of a hands-off parent and just let kids be kids.
Free range.
Sounds like most 80s parents I know.
No, but it would be like free range parenting now.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
And then the uninvolved parent, which provides little guidance, nurturing, or attention. So looking back at my parents, I would say I had 2 very different, I can't say I had 2 very different parenting style parents, but they were different initially. So when I was growing up, I would say that my mom was very authoritarian. She was very like rigid and strict and no means no and don't cross her or there will be consequences for sure. And not
Oh, Connie.
and then my dad was very uninvolved. He was very much stare at the TV, don't talk to me, don't have anything to do with me, goes to work, comes home, puts on the TV, doesn't talk to anybody, just kind of sits there. So I think that though, what's interesting is my dad actually, so my parents did actually end up getting divorced, not when we moved here, because obviously my dad came with, but he about
How many years later was that?
3 years after we got here.
Okay.
I got the 4 a.m. Oh, by the way, when your dad leaves work today, he's not coming back tonight conversation. So that was a fun day. Not that I would this because he was completely uninvolved.
Yeah, did you ever hear of like
couch watching TV anymore? Okay.
Okay, so that spot's open.
Yeah. Good. I
So
can
did you
I want to watch now.
did they fight or anything? Did you
I don't remember ever hearing them fight. I'm sure they had to have. I don't know if I just like blocked it out.
I bet you it was like, because I know your mom, and
Yeah.
I bet you it was a whole bunch of looks.
Probably. She was a looker. She had a look.
She still has a look, but it was probably a lot of those looks. Like,
Yeah,
you
she's
know,
a queen with side eye.
oh my gosh, she has the best side eye. That
She
is so true.
for
And
sure.
your mom could say that the sky is yellow, and
Yeah.
you would believe her.
Well, you wouldn't have a choice.
That's what I mean. Well, yeah, you wouldn't have a choice. You'd be like, no, it's blue. Malinda, it is yellow.
100% yellow.
Stop, full stop. That's it. It's yellow.
So, yeah. So, what was interesting too was so when they got divorced, I was 12. She got into another relationship right away. And as soon as she got into the other relationship, she went like 360 degrees from an authoritarian parent to a completely absent parent.
Yeah.
So most of my teen years, she was working all the time and doing stuff with her new relationship. So she still had little streaks of authoritarianism in her that would come out every once in a while. But for the most part, she was pretty uninvolved from around the time I turned 13. Spent a lot of time with my grandparents again.
A lot of time with your grandparents, and you were made to go to work.
Yes, I did start working at 13.
Sorry, Heather, but you got to go to work tomorrow. Do you get paid? No. But
I did get paid. I did get paid, but so here's the thing. In Arizona, at least, I don't know how it is now, so don't quote me on this, please. I don't want any angry emails from the state of Arizona. But back in the day, in the 80s, if you were working at a family business, child labor laws did not apply. So, like, obviously, my mom didn't have me out until at that time when I first started, she didn't have me out until midnight working because they own so backstory, they owned a video store. Haha, I love a video store.
Classic video store. It was
Video store.
Okay, let's just say it was not Blockbuster.
It was not. It was a mom and pop little video shop. I up until a few years ago, I actually still ran into people occasionally that came into the video store and recognized me, which I think is wild.
Well, it's not that wild since you worked there from 13 till 20 something.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah, I started working. I did get paid, but I got paid like below minimum wage. And I want to say minimum wage when I started working was like $2.50 an hour.
Yeah, because when I started working, it was 382.
Can you imagine? Like you can't even buy a candy bar for that now.
Well, I mean, and then they were free at the video store.
Oh wow. 5 fingers.
I mean, you would have to work for 3 hours to get a meal at Taco Bell.
Yeah, today. I know, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
59.79.99. Yes.
I miss that. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
But so yeah, once she got remarried, the parenting style definitely changed drastically. And she and I were always kind of like oil and water. We still are oil and water.
Yeah.
Uh, Hence the really expensive lifelong therapy. But I digress.
Yeah.
So your mom's parenting style, like I think I know what you would say your mom's parenting style is, but I want to know what you think.
Oh, what I think? I mean, you know, and I know because you were like a sister adjacent. I mean, the oldest one of the bunch, but
This is a true fact.
this is very true. So what was the one? The authoritative
The
parenting?
authoritative is the one that creates positive relationships and enforces rules.
Yeah, I think that was my mom.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
I would agree.
So
100%.
my mom, my mom was very witty and funny and just like very, my mom was that parent who would take any kid in.
Mhm.
Like if you needed, a meal, or if you just wanted to come over, and we had no money. I mean, my mom lived off my dad's veterans benefits that I later found out was $300 a month. That was
Wow.
it. That's what she got. And she would feed the neighborhood. So, and she never really had another job because she took care of us, which was good and bad. So she was positive all the time and funny, and she was she definitely knew ish where we were all the time,
Mhm.
but kind of not. So anyway, so my mom never got remarried. She did have a relationship for years, and
Mhm.
I called him the live-in, and I really didn't like him that much because I was like, no one's going to replace my father.
Right.
But anyway, Richard was his name, and he went by Dick. So that was one way. My mom's rules were you cannot curse.
Yes.
I think I maybe heard my mom say shit like one time, like once. That's it. Shut up was a bad word in my house. You couldn't say shut up. You couldn't use any of those kind of terms towards people.
Nothing derogatory.
Nothing derogatory. And like, so it was a lot of growling, like, Adrian.
I do remember the growling.
And she never, like, we were never really disciplined. And once again, it was children should be seen and not heard. And she said that a lot. Children
Yeah.
should be seen, not heard. She would get compliments from people on how Adrian and I were so well behaved, and that we didn't say anything when we were among adults. And I was like, looking back, I'm like, were we just scared to say
Yeah, but I don't remember. Actually, I take that back. I only remember one time
something?
seeing your mom like just pissed. Like I was scared. And that was I don't know if you'll remember this. I'm sure you will once I tell the story a little bit. Um, I was spending the night, which wasn't an unusual thing for us. I spent the night at your house a lot because it was a
Yeah.
more loving, nurturing environment to be in. People were home. Let's just say that.
People were home. Yeah.
Um, and you and your brother, I remember your bedroom was at the back of the house,
Hmm.
and you had a full length mirror. And I don't remember if it was on the back of the door or behind the door, hanging on the wall, or where it was, but there was this full length mirror and there was a door involved. And you and your brother were fighting. And I think it was you, but maybe it was Adrian. I don't know. One of you slammed the door and shattered the mirror. And I just remember your mom coming in and screaming at both of you.
Yes, I remember. Now I remember. It was Adrian. I think it was Adrian who slammed the door like into the wall,
Yes.
and the
I think
doorknob.
the mirror was hanging on the wall.
It was on, yeah, it was on the wall. And he slammed it so hard that it shattered the, plastic mirror.
Yeah.
And so, and then I remember, like, because I would go, Mom.
Yeah.
I would scream at the top of my lungs and my mom would come running. And my mom's like, when she would yell at us, it was Melinda and Adrian. Like that was it. It was never Adrian and Melinda. It was Melinda and Adrian. Like when she
I
was
mean, we're younger.
okay. So, but that was like Melinda and Adrian. But she never like really yelled at us. But yeah, that one time she was like, she kind of yelled at us. The one other time that I remember is here's what my mom would say. Like one time I came home and I don't even know, it was probably later 80s because you had a driver's license and we had gone to a desert party and we were and we were drinking, and so like somebody dropped me off at my house and of course I was intoxicated, and it probably only took a shot to be intoxicated.
We weighed all of 50 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, so I was trying to walk down the hallway and be very quiet.
I remember this because I was actually with you. I was who dropped you off.
Yeah. So anyway, I would have gotten away with it. So I got to my room and then, but your freaking mother called my mother and said, "Do you know what these girls were doing?" It's like, come on, Connie. They were drinking. And then my mom comes in the morning and she goes, "Melinda," and I go, yeah, "I'm very disappointed in you." And that was it. It was never spoken of again.
Really?
Never spoken of again. And so, and I attribute a lot of my mother's calmness to weed
Well,
because she was a weed smoker.
yeah. So was my dad. That was the absenteeism.
The absenteeism. She was a functioning weed smoker. She never drank. She never drank alcohol. Well, she did one time and she drank too much and she decided that that was it. And she missed a Thanksgiving and that was it. And she was never drinking again. It was Blue Nun wine. And I remember.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was, vomiting and she's like, "Never again. That was the first and last time." She drank.
Right.
But she did like the ganja,
Yeah.
the Mary Jane,
Mary Jane, all the different names. I don't even know what they call it now.
weed, I guess.
And it is legal in Arizona, so you just smell it everywhere. You can just walk outside and get high.
Oh yeah. Well, then it's like, on a side note, it's like I was trying to think about it. So that was the 80s. Like what shady MFers was she hanging out with to get said weed? Right. And then I was like, oh my God. Okay. So the live-in probably got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And always had people. We always had a full house. We
You did.
always had a full house of people. And the funny thing is, they were parents of kids that I went to school with. And
Well, and the weird thing too was, so you always had a house full of people, but everybody always sat out on the patio, like out on because your patio ran like the entire
yeah.
length of your house. And they had remember those big the wooden cable
Yeah, I remember.
things that they made tables of? They always used to sit out there and play dice.
Dice, yep, dice and cards. And then when it was cold in the wintertime, they moved their situation inside. And then it was like when I would come home or Adrian would come home or anybody would come over, they would hide like the bong behind their back. It's like, we knew you. What? It's like
You can smell it from a mile away.
I mean, I know that I was like a slow reader, but my mind still worked. Like you could smell it. And then Adrian and I were talking about this like years later. And I go, "Dude, I think my mom was a drug dealer." I mean, dude, we had people coming in and out of the house. And I mean, maybe she worked for the FBI. I don't know. But the typical American housewife, single parent, 2 kids, who's going to know?
Yeah.
Who's going to know? It's like, why were all those people always over at her house? And then they would smoke and then they would leave. Hello.
Maybe my mom should have come over and hung out with your mom more.
Maybe. Well, and then I thought about it even more.
Relaxed a bit.
I know. I thought about it even more, and I'm like, how did she live off of $300 a month? I don't know. She supplemented.
Yeah.
Her side hustle must have been selling drugs. Don't do drugs, kids,
No, we
and or
frowned.
sell them. So I don't like, you see all those movies where whoever's selling the drugs like do the drug with the buyer, right,
Yeah.
to know that it's legit.
Yeah.
So, and and it's not like they hid it when we would come in, but their stash was like in a cabinet under where they were smoking.
Yeah.
So there was all the paraphernalia like right there. So it's interesting to look back and realize that, hey, maybe that was a thing. I mean, I can't ask now and there's nobody to ask, but
What
so
is also interesting is the fact that we never took any of it.
I never did. I never took any of it. Like, I was always curious,
Uh-huh.
but and I remember like I think I did take some one time, but I did not know what to do with it.
Really?
I didn't know. And then I've only smoked weed like 3 times in my life. And it's just not for me.
No, I've tried it a few, probably more than 3 times, but
Yeah.
it puts me to sleep, which I
Yes.
probably should do now because I can't freaking sleep.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but now there's like CBD oils
Yeah.
and that have whatever in it. Well, there's all sorts of products now, which my mom would have been in seventh heaven now.
Oh yeah.
She'd be like, what? I could just go to some dispensary down the street and
Mm.
claim that I have the glaucoma.
So here's a question for you.
Hmm.
Looking back at the parenting styles and like how you were parented,
Yeah,
what parenting style do you think that you utilize?
the same.
The same.
The same one. I mean, I'm in a little bit of a different situation
Yeah.
with parenting. So I mean, not to go into a long story about it, because I do have another podcast on my parenting style. It's called, if anybody wants to look it up, it's called Autism Mastermind. And I co-host with one of my friends who's also an autism parent. So my daughter is 21 years old. She has autism. She is a non-speaking autistic young woman. She's awesome, but my parenting style is kind of the same. It's like I joke around a lot and I just want to make her life as fun as possible.
Mhm.
And I mean, she pretty much gets away with everything. I do not smoke weed or sell it out of my house. I mean, I could here in California. You can have however many plants. I don't even know, like 8 or something. But yeah, pretty much I try to create a positive relationship, positive environment. But I am also there's rules. When she was very little, it's like the rules were kind of the same as my mom. You say please and thank you to
Mhm.
people, and you greet people when you meet them, like those
Yeah.
kind of rules like that. And I mean, she has a free license to curse, so I didn't bring that rule, but we're all about inclusion in our family,
Mhm.
and we accept everybody into our family, animals included.
Indeed.
Mm, indeed. So what about you? Do you I can tell you, but go ahead.
So I I have been a single parent for most of my son's life. My son is now 23. His dad and I got divorced when he was 10. So I've been winging it on my own. I would say I'm actually probably a mix of all of them, to be
Mm,
honest. It's funny because I try really hard to be or did because he's grown now, so I really tried not to parent him now. But um I tried really hard to be authoritative. Like I looked at the way that your relationship was with your mom and the way that your mom interacted with you and your brother and me, because let's be honest, I spent a lot of time with your family.
right.
Um And so I really try to emulate that type of a relationship and that type of a bond. Every once in a while, I'll lose it and the little authoritarian will come out. And a little bit of my mother will sneak in, but I catch myself. I make a conscious effort to try to do the exact opposite of
Yeah.
what my mom would do, I guess. um, because I know how her parenting style influenced me.
Mhm.
And so I tried not to be that person. So I would say, I guess, if I had to narrow it down, I would say somewhere between authoritative and permissive. Because I kind of let my son grow into the person that he is.
Mhm.
But
Like he'll figure it out kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Like he'll get there eventually.
So but you said all of them, but I wouldn't say you were an uninvolved parent.
Oh no, not at all. But I wasn't a helicopter parent either. I was just like
Were you
I
not?
No, I don't think so. I participate, like I was very active. So when I was growing up, like I, first of all, when I hit my teen, by the time I was 13, 14, I was kind of a mess. And the mess just kept getting
Guessing.
bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. I was kind of a wreck by my teenage years. Um, and so I completely forgot where I was going with that. But if I had been in like sports or anything, like you were in
Mhm.
cross country and track, I remember your mom used to drive the team because you guys had a van. She used to
Yeah.
drive the team to like meets and stuff like that. Like my mom was always at work. She would have not done anything like that. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have been at any of my meets. I don't remember her being at, because we played in the orchestra. Like
Mhm.
I don't remember her being at all of our concerts and things like that. I again made a very conscious effort to be present for all of my son's stuff. My son, like you, ran cross country and track in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like the booster club president. I went to all the meets. If I had to, like, I showed up for at least his events for every meet, even if I had to like leave work early, or I even called in sick to work a couple of times so
Yeah.
that I could be at something for him.
Yeah. You were kind of trying to make up for your mom and being like overly involved
Yeah.
in your son's life, which is cool. That's cool that you did all those things. And I think that maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. Maybe that's why. But I mean, I would say like you are, I would say, yeah, authoritative parent. I think you are. And then the permissive, I don't know. I think you did enforce a lot of rules.
There were some, but I didn't, there wasn't
Like
a lot
kids
of
will be
punishment.
kids, and but like I guess my mom too is kind of permissive. Like kids will be kids, and then they kind of like they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
And
that,
I think I got really lucky with my son too. I think that the universe knew that I couldn't handle a version of myself.
oh yeah,
So I think I got really lucky with my son, and like same thing kind of with you. All I had to say to him was, I'm disappointed in you. And
yeah,
it was like he would shut down and
yeah.
just,
You like melt, yeah, because
yeah.
you feel
So
so bad. You feel
exactly.
so bad that you put your parent through that feeling.
Yeah. So I didn't have that same experience.
Yeah.
but
Mm.
but he definitely did. So if he did something really wrong, I didn't really have to punish him. I just had to say, hey, dude, I'm really disappointed that you did that. And it was like that behavior was squashed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Mother of the year
I
again.
sure.
Get that medal. I see those medals behind
The
you.
crown.
There's some medals behind you. I see them.
Yeah. Blank white
We all
wall.
try our hardest. We all try our best now, don't we?
We
And that's
sure.
the thing, I think that a lot of times that I'm curious. I think I know what type of parenting Adrian is like. We'll have to have him on, but
Yeah.
my older brother. But I think I know, but I would put him in a couple different categories.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. Stay tuned. I mean, I don't see them that often, but I know. I just know him. And the weird thing is we have so much in common, and I think it, like, personality wise, and it comes from our upbringing.
Hmm.
And so I think that we're both both of us are extreme extroverts. We'll talk to anybody about anything, anytime. And we are both very giving, and we're both very like, let's stay in touch with people.
Yeah.
That's we're like the same.
Really.
Adrian has a little bit more of a like a I guess mean streak. He has a low tolerance for things.
Okay.
So he gets mad very easily. And I don't know where that came from, but he definitely has a low tolerance for
You should
any shenanigans.
ask your aunt if your dad was like that.
My dad was, so once again, speaking of parenting styles, here's my mom's parenting style. Okay, it goes like this. My dad dies in 1979. 1979 till, and he died in September. So 1979 until 1981, before when we moved to Arizona. Who knows what happened in that time zone? And so the 80s on. So my dad died in 1979 and then was never spoken of again. It was like, it's so weird to think about. Like, I can't ask her now because my mom died in 1993,
Right.
but it's so weird because she never like said, oh, your father used to do that. Or,
Really?
let me show you. Like, she had pictures and I would look at pictures and she would say, oh yeah, that's your dad and his brother.
Yeah.
But I didn't find out anything really about my dad until my mom died, and I started to ask.
Really?
So my dad was one of 8, and so there was enough of them. And so I would ask them questions, and they didn't really open up until like the later years and
Really?
tell me. And so the aunt that I think you're talking about is Maureen,
Mhm.
and she was young when my dad died. I think she was 15 or 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she's the last one. And so between her and the oldest, there's 19 years of difference. So
That's
isn't that crazy? Like, that's too many kids.
a lot of kids.
So, but she remembers, but then doesn't remember. But it's cool because now I've met a lot of people. But going back, like my father, I don't think was like that, because I hear stories. I heard stories from his school classmates.
Mhm.
I heard stories from people that used to work with him and for him. So he did construction, and there was someone who reached out to Adrian and I who was mentored by my dad in like bricklaying.
Okay.
And now he's some big to do in Florida. And he reached out and said, your dad meant so much to me. And he dedicated the place to him.
Oh, wow.
And there's like a brick and everything. He sent us a picture that, it was his mentor, William Dalton,
That's
Bill,
cool.
Bill Dalton, that's how he started, and he encouraged him to do better. So he must be from my mom's side of the family. Maybe, oh, it's probably my grandmother, my mom's mom. She gone now, so I can talk about her. She was something.
God.
Anyway, so that's the good old parenting styles of the 80s that we went through. I'm sure people listening have similar stories, and we love to hear them about your parenting styles. So I wanted to, do you have anything else to say before I ask you a question?
No.
So I wanted to ask you, if you could think back, and we're going to ask our guests these questions. So if you could think back to the 80s, did you have any kind of iconic hairstyle?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
How do you not know this?
I do know it. It's for the freaking thing.
I know. I had the haircut. I had the asymmetrical bob where like one side was a bob and the other side was like super short.
Like the Tony Hawk.
Yes, that is exactly like it.
He's our age-ish.
He is our age.
And that was a big thing. Skateboarding was a big thing
Oh,
for
yeah.
us in the 80s. Yeah.
Well, let's do an entire episode just devoted to skateboarding because I could talk about that
Let's
for.
not. Let's not. I mean, I can ask Tony. He lives right down the street from
Yeah, I
me.
was gonna say you guys are neighbors.
I can ask him if you want.
Yeah.
Come on, talk about the 80s.
Sure.
I just saw him in I just saw him in a commercial for, I think it was turmeric.
Because his joints are bad.
All the joints from skateboarding are inflamed. So he's taking some turmeric now,
Yeah.
which I highly recommend at our
I was
age.
gonna say I have some as well. I need some collagen too.
We all need something. And if
Collagen,
when these videos
proton.
go, yeah, when these videos are on YouTube, you'll see what we're talking about. So yeah, we'll get Tony on to
Sure.
talk about his 80s parenting. I'm sure his was awesome because, I mean, I bet you they were the same as my mom because they let him skateboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I had the Tony Hawk haircut.
The Tony Hawk haircut. Yeah, and our
My hair was like curly and fluffy, so it didn't lay nicely like his did.
yeah, so we have oh, curly. Oof. I had terrible hair. But the I don't know. What was I
What
gonna
was
say?
yours? I think we all had I also had the mushroom cut where my head literally looked like a mushroom. Because I had the really short bob like underneath my
Yeah,
ear.
I
I had the
remember.
bangs that stuck like straight up with the Aquanet.
Oh yeah. So funny story. Our profile picture on this podcast is of Heather and I with our hair.
Yeah,
And we teased those bangs.
we sure did.
So I have naturally curly hair, and there it is. And I would tease the bangs really high, but my mom would not let us use an aerosol can, environment. And I had to use the Aussie, the spritz
Oh no, I had the Aquanet.
in
I
the
can still
purple
smell
bottle.
it.
Ugh. Anyway, so that's your hairstyle you're going with there, huh?
That's the one I'm going with.
I do remember that. We need a photo. Anyway, thank you all for listening once again. And on the next episode is TBD.
Yeah,
We'll see. We're gonna get
I
and
bet we have a guest.
we're gonna have a guest.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get my husband.
There we go.
He should have been in prison with all the stuff that he did in the 80s, but he's here now and thriving. Thanks everyone.
Bye.